Vegas, Greg J here. Coffee Conversations is on. How are you today? How are you? How are you? How are you? Yep. Another day in the life is what I say. Good morning, everybody, all over the world. Thank you so much for celebrating with us, for, just living life peaceful. Feeling vindicated. Got those last time we were together. We talked to Molly Bell and we were waiting for the verdict. And within the hour, I think, after we got off with Molly, guilty, and guilty. Struggle's not over, though, y'all. Got to keep yourself going. Keep vibrating peace and love. Keep striving for equality, social justice. That's what the notion of America is all about, right? That's what we need to do. It ain't over. Don't rest on your laurels. It is what it is. And we just continue to fight for our place in this place called America. Yeah. All right, Greg J here. Listen, we like to talk about music, arts, and culture here from a global perspective. And today we're going to take the hood off and look at gospel music. Man, yes. So honored. I almost don't have the words. As y'all know, I was over there at KJLH for a lot of years and worked alongside this good brother. And man, a couple of weeks ago, turned on the radio and he talking about 25 years. Man, I was like, what? I'm trying to look at has it been that long? Am I that old? 25 years of gospel radio in Los Angeles. And, gospel is just essential to the fabric of our culture, right? We can talk about the history of gospel music. We can go all the way back to the slave days, the old Negro spirituals. We could talk about Thomas Dorsey. We can talk about Chester Hairston. We can talk about so many different people, contemporary gospel, the Clark sisters. Remember, the Clark sisters had the biopic on TV last year, and it was all the rage, right? I think it picked up a couple of awards already. It's just really, really something to see the history of gospel music. And with Los Angeles being such a large city, we're one of the only cities that do not have a 24-hour gospel radio station, but Sundays over there at KJLH, they rocking that gospel, spread the word, it. And I was just honored to be alongside, Aundrae Russell and the crew. And let's just bring them in. We just wanted to come and, holler at him and love on him a little bit and tell him congratulations on 25 years. Let me just push the right button. My cursor acted funny. There we go. Good morning, Aundrae Russell.
Good morning, Greg J. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing all right. Thank you, man. First of all, congratulations, for 25 years of gospel radio in Los Angeles. That's a feat in and of itself, man.
Greg, I don't know where the years went, but before I go any further, I got to say thanks to you, because you were, as you stated just previously, you stated it, but in too much brevity, you stated that you were a part of what we did, but you were a major part of the 25 years of Spread the Word, which I'm so proud to still be hosting from day one, which started in March of 1996, Greg J. And
wow.
We just reached 25 years, but you were such a part of it, Greg, in addition to supplying great artists and making sure we were just always taken care of with all the promotions we did, like Tops Off My Head, Knott's Berry Farm Gospel Fest, which was so successful for so many years. And you were able to wrangle in the top artists, not just some of them. I'm talking from the top on down, man, from the Yolanda Adams and Marvin Sapp and Kirk Franklin and Yolanda. Hey, brother, Donnie McClurkin, just Hezekiah Walker, anybody you name, Greg got them for me. And so, Greg, you make me look good and you make me shine, and I appreciate you, brother.
Man, I appreciate you. That was Knott's Berry Farm. That was a real fun experience there. We ran a little more than a decade on that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's championship ball.
Yep. Yes, sir. It was,
dynasty, man. That's dynasty stuff, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. So, Dre, when we think about gospel music, man, in LA and on radio, you stand on the shoulders of so many people. Paul Kidd, Reginald Utley, so
Absolutely.
many different people. I mean, and now, you are certainly the Hall of Fame of radio, especially in the gospel format. But what do you think about, like, give us your reflections of, as you say, 25 years, and then look at the general history of gospel music in Los Angeles. Just tell me, reflect a little bit with the peoples.
Greg, you said a couple of major names a moment ago, man. My dear friend Reginald Utley, who's passed away, and my mentor and dear friend Paul Kidd, who Jr., who also passed away recently. And they both were so instrumental in LA gospel radio. And I learned from them. When I got to LA, when I arrived in LA a little over 30 years ago, Reginald Utley was the standard, and he was doing his thing, I believe, on KMAX and some of these other stations, KACE. I learned from him. And then the same thing with Paul Kidd Jr., working under Paul, who was my program director at KGFJ when they were gospel for a short stint. I learned so much, and I know God works in mysterious ways, but I know now he was preparing me to do Spread the Word, because working under Paul Kidd at KGFJ and working alongside a dear sister who was also a great gospel radio announcer in her own right. I'm talking Edna Tatum. So working next to Edna Tatum and working under Paul Kidd, I learned so much about gospel radio and prepared me to do Spread the Word. So when KGFJ went away and Stevie Wonder and I had a conversation about there's no gospel in LA, we started Spread the Word immediately that Sunday after the conversation, which was 25 years and a month ago. We had that conversation and Spread the Word started from that. But I was prepared from working at KGFJ. That prepared me to do what I do. And then back then, it wasn't a whole lot of gospel artists, say, from LA really doing their thing. Now, man, I mean, back then, probably the only West Coast gospel artists, and I know I'm going to leave out some, I'm just saying, generalizing here. You had up in the Bay Area, you had the Hawkins, you had Walter Hawkins and Tremaine Hawkins and Edwin Hawkins. And then down here in LA, of course, the LA area, you had Aundrae Crouch and his twin sister, Sandra Crouch. But then you didn't have a whole lot of gospel artists in this area doing their thing. But shortly after, boom, it started with a lot of the younger ones, even some that weren't necessarily from LA, but they were based here. And I'm talking Kurt Carr and the Kurt Carr Singers. I'm talking Norman Hutchins. And then, Judy McAllister. And then a lot of more gospel artists from the newer age started to come out. The David Daughtry's, the Renee Spearmans, the Prez Blackmans. And, the list goes on and on. So many are out now and coming out. But I love the way gospel music is and where it's come from. So many people over the last few years, I've seen stories and people say, oh, gospel music is not going to be around. It's almost like what they said about rap music a long time ago, Greg. Oh, it'll be here for a couple of years, it'll be gone. Well,
right.
You have so many young gospel artists that are coming up, man. Just the other day, I was having a conversation live on the air with Brian Courtney Wilson, and I was telling him how he's one of my favorites, and I feel like he's one of that, I want to almost call it that new wave of gospel artists that are out now. And I think is very healthy when you got like him, William Murphy, Jason Nelson and his twin brother, Jonathan Nelson, Anthony Brown. You got some great young artists that are coming up that are going to, and these guys aren't just rookies, but I mean, they're solid. They're almost like where Marvin Sapp, Kirk Franklin, Donnie McClurkin were, say, 15, 20 years ago. Now they're at that stage. So I think it's a nice handoff of the baton. And then even on the other side, you got the Tasha Cobbs and so forth and so on. It's almost like they're handing off the baton and they're keeping it going. And then you have so many new gospel artists coming out that are like really good and really fresh. So I like where gospel music is, man. I really do. And the kingdom of God ain't going nowhere. People are still going to be able to praise the Lord, and great gospel music is going to continue to come out.
Over 25 years, I mean, you've seen different trends and you named a lot of new gospel artists. And, so oftentimes I get in conversations with folks and they talk about how maybe gospel music is trying to mimic the CCM. Do you think so? Or have we gotten away from the soul of gospel music?
Greg, on one hand, I kind of agree with you. But then I think it's a balance. I think there's enough artists that are going to keep it where it needs to be. But yeah, I do think for instance, Israel Holden, Israel touches a different group of people, if you will. You know what I mean? With his music, he's great. He's amazing. But then you have guys like Jonathan McReynolds, who's one of those young guns coming up. I think it's a balance that's going to keep it where it is. And you still got some quartet sounds. The Williams brothers ain't going away yet. You know what I mean? You still got some traditional music that's coming out and that's out there. But I think I do agree with you to a large degree, actually, that some artists are doing that a bit too much. I do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, the a lot of times when we just came out of the Grammy Awards a couple of weeks ago, and who won the best gospel artist? Kirk Franklin again? He might be straight. Do you know?
Well, I think Kirk did, but one award was given to Jonathan McReynolds and oh man, who's with him on the song? My mind just went blank, Greg. But the duet Jonathan had with somebody else. But I know one thing I do. I'm glad it's a lot of other artists coming out, because I was getting to the point where I'm like, you can't give every award. And I love these guys, and they're all friends of mine. But you can't give every award to Hezekiah Walker, Marvin Sapp, Kirk Franklin, and have them performing on all the award shows, and that's it. Yeah. The same people, the same thing. You just can't. So now I feel like a lot of other artists have come out and are making a name for themselves, and they're winning awards as well. So even when you see PJ Morton winning a Grammy, you know what I mean? So, and of course, his dad is the great Paul S. Morton out of New Orleans. So I think that's refreshing. And especially I think it's refreshing, and it's great for the younger listeners and the younger audience, where they can relate to them. Like, oh, I know who it was. My mind was blank, Greg. It was Jonathan McReynolds and Molly Music, who you and I helped discover. They won a Grammy. So this time around. So I think that is so refreshing, man, to have a Jonathan McReynolds and a Molly Music, two guys that are, somewhere around 30 years old, winning a Grammy in the gospel field, and the PJ Morton as well. I think that's great.
I'm glad you mentioned that we helped discover Molly Music, because our super producer Rhonda Love is the one who introduced me to Molly Music there, and so that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man.
Shout out to Rhonda. Rhonda's the best, man. She's the best in business. Yes. And and I talked to Molly recently, and he's so grateful to what we did for his career early on when he popped into Cali from Georgia. I remember you said, Dre, you got to meet this guy, and the song was, remember the song, Greg, was Yahweh.
Yes,
that was the song. Yes. And we played Yahweh, and Yahweh and we played it across the board, Greg. If you remember, we didn't just play it on gospel.
That's
we
right.
We played it Monday through Sunday. We played it every day of the week, because our philosophy was people need to hear gospel music every day of the week. They need inspiration. They want to hear those great songs. Those are passion songs that people want to hear them. They don't just want to hear them on Sunday, and then Monday through Saturday, I'm good. I don't need the Lord. They need it every day.
Right. And very, very interesting. Now, we're speaking about awards there. Man, I'm gonna tell you something. We got that Stellar Award. It still is wondrous to me, for us. So talk about that when we got the Stellar Award. For those of you who are checking this out and you don't know, the Stellar Award is what would you say, the Grammy, the Soul Train Award of gospel?
It's absolutely the Grammy of gospel. Absolutely. Yeah. And we won the Stellar in 2012 for Gospel Radio Station of the Year. And that was significant, man. That was great. That was huge. That's probably my one or two top honors of my 30 plus year radio career, man. That was amazing for us to win the Stellar Award. And I accepted that on behalf of you, G, and the radio station, because like I said, you were such an integral part of what we did there at KJLH during that time.
I was that was Martin Luther King weekend, and I was on our float rolling down Long Beach. And you called me. I'm literally on the float. You called me, yo, man, we got it. Hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah. So okay, so tell me, let's walk the people through that, man. I mean, again, you're there in the industry, the gospel industry. Everybody knows KJLH is not the 24-hour gospel radio station. And so probably all bets were like, oh, they ain't gonna win. But then they announced it, saying the winner is. What was your immediate emotion? Walk us through it.
Greg, I was surprised. Sometimes you watch award shows and people go, oh my God. And then I'm really surprised because they're expecting it, right? Now I was really shocked because I'm standing there next to I'm not sure how many finalists it was. It may have been 3 others or 4 others. I can't remember. And I'm standing on the stage next to them. And all these stations are 24/7 gospel radio stations. They're gospel all the time. And we're gospel Sunday for 24 hours, from midnight Saturday night to midnight Sunday night. And we're religious programming and gospel music. So, but the industry respected us because of what we did so much off the air. And once again, Greg, it points at you. We did so many things in the community, at churches, for the Los Angeles community in a market this size, number 2 market in the world, but only behind New York. It was significant. People took note of that and realized what we were doing. And they were like, wow, this station right here, they're doing in one day what other stations do in 7 days. So they gave us respect for that. And we pulled it out.
We did come with a little bit of heat there with our little package. You know, you have to submit the package to talk about your radio station. We had Bishop Blake, we had Bishop Ulmer. It was off the chain, yo.
No doubt.
Yeah, we came with some heat. Good.
Yeah,
stuff,
that's one of the things.
Stuff.
The clergy respects the station so much, and like you said, you just named 2 of the biggest, and then Bishop Noel Jones and Bishop McClendon, and
right.
and the list just goes on and on. Pastor Beverly Bam Crawford and Fred Price at the time. It was so. Everybody, man, all the clergy and all the churches were down with us, and we were down with them. Absolutely.
You know, let's talk about this. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we had Karen Slade on here, General Manager, Vice President, RadioFree KJLH. And I had her on with the General Manager, Wendy Williams, out of Atlanta, WCLK on Clark Atlanta University, and also with my good friend, Tommy Ngubeni, all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa, and also Muter Evans out of North Carolina, the second Black woman to ever own a radio station. And we were talking about Black radio and in general. And, you know, I've also had Skip Dillard on here and Max Myrick, a couple of Hall of Fame Black radio luminaries, you know, and I'm going to ask you the same thing that I've asked them. And, you know, describe to the people how important is Black radio to the community.
Oh, you know what? It can't even put it into words, Greg. It's huge. It's very big. It's very, very big for the Black community because we provide them, meaning the listeners, something that other radio stations and other media are not going to give them. We're going to give them true facts. We're going to tell them things that they're not going to hear elsewhere. We'll tell them, for instance, hey, demand that your neighborhood get grocery stores. If it's a neighborhood that doesn't have it, demand that your neighborhood get grocery stores where you can get fresh fruits and vegetables and you don't have to just eat Taco Bell and fast food and go to 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? We'll be the one to say that. You're not going to hear that on any other media. They don't care. And they're glad that it's like it is. So I'm just saying we deliver messages and give them things that they're not going to get elsewhere because we care and because we live that life. We're doing it because it's us, G. Some of us might say, oh, man, that's my neighborhood. You're right. We need a grocery store. Right. We need something in there where we can go. We need a Whole Foods. Or we need something, a Sprouts, where we can get something fresh, where we don't have to just eat this other stuff and be unhealthy and be overweight and be diabetic and be unhealthy. So we do, and health tips, of course. And then you go to just entertainment and great music that's good for the soul. Like we were talking about gospel music, passion songs of passion, whether it's Earth, Wind and Fire, or whether it's, Fred Hammond. I mean, we're giving them music that means something to them. But Black radio is integral part of the community of the Black radio is important for the Black community because we go hand in hand. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Really, really something. And that's why, you know what, I used to roll around in the van with Sonny Williams so I could see for myself the community, man. I've been in just every corner of the Black community in Southern California, just rolling with the radio station, probably places I probably would have never gone to even,
Absolutely.
And just being a really great part of it.
And like you said, Greg, back to what Black radio does for the community. This is the most recent example. Who else is going to be out there, other stations or other people trying to tell you how important it is to be registered to vote and then to actually vote? And to disregard all the Jim Crow stuff that goes on and them trying to discourage you from voting and this, who's going to really tell you the truth and let you know about and get you to the polls, as a lot of radio stations do around the country, souls to the polls. Who else is going to do that but Black radio? No, other stations don't care about you. They don't even want you to go out and vote, or they could care less, So Black radio is very important. It has been, Greg, probably since, I would say in my estimation, since the late 60s. And it continues to be important today to Black communities.
All right. On your 25 years as the host to Spread the Word, what is the interview, the item, the action, the event that just stands out in your mind that when you write your book, what's going in there?
Greg, don't say it. You know what? Something that blew my mind was on March 7th of this year, Last month, when was the official day that made the 25 years of me hosting Spread the Word and the program being on the radio. That day, my family threw me a surprise parade in front of KJLH. My family had got with the Inglewood PD and a lot in the Corvette Club, and who you I think introduced to us in the first place, and a lot of other people. They had blocked off the street, La Brea, between Manchester and Florence. I didn't have a clue. And of course, they were working with a couple of the people at the station, and they tricked me to come down to the front door. And when I got to the front door, I looked out and the parade started. And every member of my family was in a different vehicle with my picture on placards and on signs and saying, congratulations, from my son to every sister and brother I have, to every niece and nephew. And it was just amazing, Greg. That blew my mind. Even though that's not on the radio, but because of the 25 years, that event right there, that particular thing really did it for me. But collectively, I tell you, all those years we did Knott's Berry Farm was amazing, Greg. Standing on that stage and looking out and seeing 30,000 plus people in an amusement park praising the Lord, that goes down collectively as one of the major events. And just being able to interview every major artist, gospel artist that's ever come out, man. Even some of the legends that have passed on, like Andrae Crouch and Daryl Coley. But from that all the way through, and like just this past Sunday, for instance, I was able to have the legendary Richard Smallwood on the show because I've had all the major artists come on and say congratulations, and we reminisced about our connection through the 25 years, whether it be their music or whatever. And Richard Smallwood, man, that's pretty big. And for him to say, and I didn't even know this, and when he said he went to Howard University with Debbie Allen, he was in class with Debbie Allen, and this one really got me, Donny Hathaway. I went, whoa. And I didn't know that. And for Richard, think about Richard Smallwood and Donny Hathaway in a choir together, in a group together or whatever. I'm like, man. So that's like the Temptations or something,
Yes.
But just to have all these giants literally come on. And like also I had Tamala Man and David Man, Then after that I had Brian Courtney Wilson. This Sunday I have the Clark sisters, man. I have Dorinda Clark Cole, Karen Clark Sheard, and even Bishop Sheard is going to be on. And just the fact of having all these great artists, Kirk Franklin, Marvin Sapp, Yolanda Adams was on 2 weeks ago. Just having all these great artists, Israel Houghton, Norman Hutchins, I can go on and on. I almost haven't missed anybody yet, And it's just been mind-blowing to me, Greg. This last, say 2 months have been mind-blowing for me. So these are some of my, moments that I cherish forever, man. This has been like, wow.
Wow, Dre. Man, you got the presiding bishop and first lady coming on?
Yeah, they'll be on this Sunday together at 1 p.m. LA time.
Yo, hey, that's big.
And you want to hear this? The people, everybody I've had on, it's a skill I learned from you, Greg J. Johnson. I produced and got them all on myself. I produced every one of this. I've gotten them all on, man. And it's amazing how I just picked up the phone and almost every person, I just called them directly. And they said, oh, I'll be glad to come on. Oh, Aundrae, come on. We're missing for the world. When you can call Donnie McClurkin and he goes, hello, what do you need from me? Hezekiah Walker, hello, when do you want me on? Kirk Franklin, hey, man, Dre, all my people in the struggle. I'll be on. What you need? It's just like all of them, man. I'm telling you, it's not. Hasn't one artist said no. They all said, when do you want me? Of course, I'll be glad to come on. So it's been great.
Wow, that's incredible, man. I love it. Look, I'm going to try to put up a little video of our Knott's Berry Farm experience, if y'all don't mind. Hold on a minute so folks can either reminisce, or if you missed it, let's see here. Let me just push the right buttons there, Dre Russell. Let's see.
Let's go to Knott's. Let's go to church.
Yeah, you guys about to see a little something here. Let me get it. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yes. Share audio. Got to be able to hear it. Here it is, y'all. Check this out. That's going to come up properly. Uh-oh, not hearing it, huh?
I can hear it.
Oh, you can hear it? Okay.
Yeah.
want you to help me. Tell them to help me. Help me on my way. Oh, Lord, I want you.
Man, oh, it looks like my little internet is a little slow over here. Well, you know what I'm gonna do, y'all. I'm gonna try this in just a minute. Dre, while we're getting this little thing together, I got a better way to do it, I think.
Okay.
And but you know, Aundrae, you know, you mentioned some heavy hitters in terms of gospel music right there. Man, I mean, Hezekiah Walker, Donnie McClurkin, just some great artists. And you know, now we're getting old. You know, we're getting a little older now. You know, when you talk to these guys, what are they saying about the current gospel music? Or, you know, what do you think that they are? How are they feeling about the generations of gospel music that are coming before them?
Well, you know what,
after
Greg?
them.
Here's one thing that I found very interesting. Almost half of the gospel artists I talk to, they're now bishops and pastors. They also have their own church. You know what I mean? So many of them are into the ministry now, even deeper than they were just as artists. I mean, like Beverly Crawford, you know, she has a church, great gospel singer, amazing energy. You know, two in New York alone are bishops, Donnie McClurkin and Hezekiah Walker. You know, they have their own churches. Marvin Sapp left Michigan, moved to Texas, has started all over again, but they still are doing their music. Donnie's not doing as much now, but they still love doing the music and you know, singing and doing this and doing that. And they're all, like I said, just last week on the air, Brian Courtney Wilson and I held the conversation about where gospel is going and the artists that are in the pipeline coming up. And it's really healthy. I feel much better about it now than I did, say, 2 years ago. And the other gospel artists I talked to, they're all kind of happy. Here's another thing a lot of them have done. If they're not bishops, or even if they are, and ministers, they also all doing like radio shows and doing their own thing now in that regard too. So many of them have radio shows. Donnie McClurkin has one. Hezekiah Walker has one. Yolanda Adams has one. So they're definitely branching out and doing other things. But there's a consensus that they're pleased with the industry and where it's going.
It's interesting because look, Alex is there. She's saying, "What's up, Dre?"
Who's Alex?
Sanders.
Oh,
yes,
what's up,
Alex Sanders? Yes.
Alex,
You know,
what's up, Alex?
You know, it is very interesting. And I was watching a live that Karen Clark Sheard did, and she was singing. Man, her grandson can sing. You know, she's at the piano and she has her grandson, a little young man. He might have been 10, 11, 12 years old. That little child can rip it. But, you know, I'm just thinking, you know, how I would love to talk to them and find out how they feel about now they've been elevated to, you know, the head of the Church of God in Christ, certainly. And just how gospel music has played a part in the whole thing. I mean, when you look back and you have luminaries like, so you have the Clark sisters, you talk to them, but their mom, Maddie Moss Clark, you know, right here in LA, Miss Sister Stevenson used to be over there. Iris Stevenson used to be over there at Crenshaw High School, you know. Man, somebody put in the chat James Cleveland, you know, and I'm just trying to see how do we connect the dots to those different, you know,
Margaret
generations.
Pleasant-Duro. Yeah, Margaret Pleasant-Duro and all of that. Oh, it's definitely connection. Reverend James Cleveland definitely is the standard for LA gospel radio, you know. Like you said. You know what, Greg? And then think back, man. Aretha Franklin did her Amazing Grace recording right here in LA. You
Sure
know,
did.
she
Yeah,
did it
yeah,
right here. But
yeah, yeah.
and Greg, I would love to ask Bishop Sheard some questions. You have to tell me what questions you want me to ask him this Sunday. I'll be glad to ask him on the air. Let's get some live answers. You know?
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Wow, that's pretty incredible. Now, when we listen to KJLH before you come on, you have a whole lineup of churches and everything. And when we dive into the history of KJLH radio, you see that the church community on the radio is so important. You know, Talk about that a little bit. How important it is the radio station's relationship with the actual church before we get into the music, but the actual church.
Oh yeah. Well, the tradition of us as Black folks, Sunday morning is church time.
Mhm.
Not church time, it's church time. So
Yeah.
when you have great institutions that have been around Los Angeles for years and years and years, some over 100 years, um, you know, but you got Holman Methodist Church. You got great pastors that have come through here, like Reverend Cecil L. Chip Murray and Fame, First AME. You got Reverend Wade, who's also going to be on Spread the Word this Sunday. Reverend Melvin Wade, who's now retired from Mount Moriah. And you have these great churches that are on the radio and have been on for years. West Angeles, of course, with Bishop Blake. These churches have been a foundation and a standard for years on KJLH and in the community. So there's so many great churches. My mind is so blank, Greg. What's the name of the church that's over? I went there for their anniversary. They turned like 125 years old.
Second Baptist?
Second Baptist. There you go. And Pastor Epps. That's my mind was blank. Yep. Pastor Epps and Second Baptist, man, churches. I mean, that church has been there for over 125 years. So it's great institutions and churches like that are on the radio and continue to be on. And then you got the ones that maybe they weren't around that long, but they're great. They're in the community now, like the Faithful Centrals and the City of Refuge and so many others that are now big. But it's the church has been big in our community and still continues to be big. And something I'm pleasantly surprised to hear is that during the pandemic, so many pastors have told me they've increased their memberships and how things haven't been as dire as you thought they might have been during the pandemic. People still been getting their word on Sunday morning.
Yeah, new paradigm. Everybody's, live streaming services and everything like that. And certainly a whole new thing. Churching is a whole different thing, Yeah. So, we really would like, I really love that about, KJLH at that time. Now, let me ask you this question now. Is Stevie Wonder going to Africa?
He said it. He said it. That's all. Right. Hey, yeah. I've never been you, Greg. You've been many times. I want to go to Africa once, so I'm going with it. I want to go. I want to go at least for a visit.
Yeah, let's get it. But I just was going to ask you though, seriously speaking. So what does Stevie say about talk to the people about what he feels about gospel music? Well, you and I know it's near and dear to his heart. I mean, I've seen him at many church services. He came to our Knott's Berry Farm so many times. He supports and wholeheartedly loves Spread the Word. Tell the people what Stevie Wonder says about gospel music.
Well, Stevie also has been on Spread the Word during the anniversary. He was on about 3-4 weeks ago. And, Stevie came up with the concept and the name. So you got to have the creator on Spread the Word during the 25th anniversary. And when he came on, not only did he come on, but he brought his little keyboard with him. So he sang live on Spread the Word. He did Falling in Love with Jesus, the Jonathan Butler track, and he tore it up. And the thing is, he said this on the air that day. He said his mother told him, you always better have some gospel music on your radio station on Sundays, So Stevie loves gospel, and his beloved mother, Miss Lula, like, hey, had to be that way. Got to be some gospel. Stevie loves gospel music. He loves singing it, and he loves listening to it. So yeah, that's a given. He said his mother said, boy, you better have some gospel music on that radio station. She probably would have got a switch to him if he didn't, Gotta have some church stuff on that station. So yeah, he loves it.
And it's interesting because he was supposed to be doing like a gospel album at one time, yeah?
Hey, I believe that's in the works, Mr. Greg J.
Yes, sir. Good stuff.
So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when something like that pops.
Okay, so now you were, you were sitting in the programming seat for a lot of those years too, man. I'm saying, now what are the nuances of programming and crafting and operating a black radio station in these days and time? I mean, you got COVID now, but jocks are doing remotes and the whole industry is changing. What's it like, Dre? What's your visions?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not like. It's not like it used to be. Things have changed so much because, and Greg, you know this better than anybody, so many listeners get their entertainment, music, other things from so many other platforms. And so much of it is digital. For instance, like so many listeners now, you got to be connected to them on Instagram, on Facebook, on this, that, and the other. They get they listen to all these different, you got to have smart speakers. And in addition to smartphones, you got to have everything now and be reaching them, especially the younger part of the audience. But you'd be surprised how many seniors are also, into these things now, man. Hey, I have older sisters that know how to text better than me now. You know what I mean? I mean, sisters that are in their 70s and 80s, they could text and do everything. But I'm just saying it's really changed a lot. So as a program director now, you have to be really adept at doing other things and reaching audiences in different manners. It can't just be the old school way anymore, because it's not just, for instance, KJLH just doesn't live within the confines of 102.3. You have to have other ways to reach people, not just at that spot on the frequency. We have an app, as you well know, Greg, you helped institute it, that people can hear us all over the world. And there's so many other ways to do things and get the audience. But radio is still radio. You still have to inform them. And the one thing that's changed radio, I think, for the bad side of it, is the way the ratings are taken with this Nielsen. They used to be called Arbitron. Now it's Nielsen. The way they measure listening audience and the data that they give us, I feel like it's flawed and I feel like it's inaccurate. But that's an argument I'll never be able to win, because they have a monopoly on the industry, and they tell you what they want to tell you. They want to say, hey, 5 people listen to your radio station. It's like, that's not true. But with the way they have it set up, I feel like urban stations, meaning black stations or Latino stations, get the short end of the stick, and it's not accurate. So I think we're getting flawed data, but it's almost like an industry standard, and you got to live with it, but unfortunately, a lot of advertisers listen to it. So they'll say, oh, McDonald's will say, oh, well, you only got 50 people listen to your station. Okay, well, we're not going to advertise, but you're going to take our money over here to this white radio station because it says they have 9,000 people and you got 5 people. So I'm saying that to say radio's changed a lot, but in my opinion, not for the good, not terrestrial radio. And it's, once again, there's so many other ways to get radio these days, but that's my take on it, Greg J.
Yeah, that's why we over here at Dream Creator Studio. That's what we're doing. Beat City Radio, Coffee Conversations.
Exactly.
We believe in the digital media platform. And to your point, I remember a big national conference call we were on, at KJLH when that the ratings, the portable people meter first came out, and we were talking to the folks in Philadelphia, and they were saying, they were talking about black women 25-54, and the question was posed, well, how many black women 25-54 in the whole market have the actual meter? And the answer was 2. And I couldn't believe it. I said, you mean 2 sisters running around Philadelphia, they speaking for the million
exactly
black women 25-54? That's not right. Yeah,
that's why I use the term flawed data. FLAWED, flawed data. Come on, man. You can't let 2 women and then 2, the ridiculousness of it all, Greg, is now, as you know, they rate people, or they listen. We'll say they're getting their data from people 6 years old and up. 6 years old. Come on, man. So you're asking 7 and 8-year-olds what radio station you're listening to, and asking them, not just asking them, you're asking them to carry a meter, which looks like an old school pager, and you're asking them to carry that on their body, on their person, to keep it with them. So we know what radio station they're listening to. How ridiculous is that? Right. And that was brought about because pressure was put on them by Radio Disney. So Disney is like, we want our ratings, so rate the kids. It's like, come on, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Money talks. So.
It is very ridiculous. And the analogy I always use about that is, so that little meter that you're right, it looks like the old school pager is listening to wherever, the person wearing it is listening to the air that wherever this person is. And so if they're in a spot for 5 minutes or more, that's telling the system that they're listening to that particular radio station. Well, here's the kicker. Sister gets up in the morning and her number one radio station is KJLH. She, get the kids off to school, her whole activity, getting off the hold on one second. Getting she's getting the kids off to school, she's getting ready to work, get in her car to get to work. She's still listening to KJLH, but when she gets to work, the folks are listening to Kiss FM. That meter is telling the system that she too is listening to Kiss FM.
Like you said, Greg, and this, okay, I go back to that word, flawed data. Listen, it's not what you're listening to, it's what you're exposed to. So if you would go up to a Chevron service station and you got one station blasting, but you ride up in a lot of gas stations and service stations play music now, you're out there pumping your gas, like you say, they got on another station, it's going to say you're listening to that station. Yes. So once again, it's not what you're listening to, it's what you're exposed to, which is very unfair. Very unfair. And then they give you ratings and say, oh, you only got this many listeners. So it's crazy.
Yeah. I remember one time the Portable People Meter ratings was telling us that we had 0 listeners, but then we had the promotion out there at Compton Summer Soul Jam. Remember that one? We did that on the golf course out in Compton.
I do.
Man, there's 15,000, 20,000 people out there. I remember telling Dolores Thompson. I told Dolores Thompson, I said, "Look, there's your listeners right there. That's the 0 you're talking about."
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. That gets me riled up talking about this rating system, which is very unfair and very flawed.
Yeah. All right, very good. All right, with 25 years of gospel music, I wanted to ask you, in this era of social justice, as we just came out of the verdict, and we still have a long way to go out there. What do you say to the people through gospel music? Is it still love one another, or what are we talking about on the gospel radio side to inform the people about these crazy times that we're living in?
One of the greatest social activists we've ever had in our lifetime, Dr. Martin Luther King. What was the beginning of his name? Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
That's right.
You got to be in the church and you got to tell the folks the truth. You can't just gloss it over and say everything's wonderful and pray about it. You got to do more than that. You got to vote. You got to be, as our sister, the great Maxine Waters said recently, you got to get in the streets. You got to stand up. You got to make some noise. It's about accountability and justice, man. And if we just sit there and play gospel music and sing Kumbaya, these cops are going to keep on shooting us down in the street if we're black or brown. And to me, the biggest problem is, I would just say, I think if you could straighten out this situation with cops killing black folks, I think a lot of things will be taken care of right there. They're not going to do it, obviously, and they're going to keep on doing it. And we see what's happening. And every time you think, oh, but maybe that's the last one. I mean, they shoot us down just because they feel like it. And I've been pulled over at gunpoint, ordered out of my vehicle for no reason. My thing is, how can you get pulled over, have a gun pointed at you, and then you leave without even a ticket? Come on, man. And it happens. They just want you to say something or run or do something so they can kill you. And then they lie about it. The police lie so doggone much. We see that. They lie. That's all they do. They lie. These white cops will kill you and lie. So I'm saying all that, Greg. I'm sorry, you touch a button, you touch a nerve on me when we talk about this. Yes. We can't just sit back and take it. No, that's why during the time to vote, man, I was so vocal on every Sunday about you got to get out there and vote. You got to fight this, because look at this last regime that we had in the White House. Look at the predicament it put not just the United States in, but the world in. And so climbing out of that hole, you see, is tough right now with the current people that are in the Washington, D.C. and the White House. But this administration is trying. But man, look at the hole they're climbing out of. That's almost like you got a basketball team or a football team and they're behind by 50 points. And then you're going to put the other team in there and say, oh, hey, bring us back to win. It's tough once you're down those many points. So I think the gospel radio, the church, you got to let these people know what's happening. You got to encourage them, and you got to let them know what's up. And you can't just, it's changed, Greg, unfortunately. Yeah, you want to just go in and play gospel music and say everybody bow our heads, but you can't just do that now. You can't, in my opinion, you can't just do that. You got to inform, and you have to encourage the people.
Yeah, it's really, really something. And you sit in the radio station that is at the epicenter of where the voice of the people is. I mean, it's right there. You're not hearing about it. You are actually seeing it and experiencing it. I mean, people run to the radio station to get the pulse of the community in such a time as this. And we used to always laugh. I remember when something would happen in the community, man, our front of our radio station and every news media ever, they try to get us on TV and everything like that. But when we do something good and we try to call them, we couldn't get them over there. Right. It's but let something happen, that it just shows you the importance of the community and you being such a prominent voice in that time. In this time, let me ask you, what was the vibe at the station as we were waiting on pins and needles for the verdict? I mean, I know folks was a little antsy there, thinking we were about to burn down the whole city.
Well, Greg, it's funny you mentioned that. What you just said about the TV station, local TV stations were lined up outside the radio station because they wanted to get the pulse of the community, and they wanted to see what the listeners thought. And of course, after the verdict, they want to come in and watch the DJs answer the phones and, like they always do, and see what the public is saying. But like you say, I think they were not hoping for necessarily, but you know how the media is. They want some action. They want some craziness they can cover. But they wanted to get the reaction of the community to the verdict. But thankfully, it was a just verdict. But they were there. And it was a nervous time because we were going over that morning on strategy, on what to do and how to handle it on the air and this, that, and the other. And man, no sooner than the meeting ended, about 30 minutes later, they announced the verdict will be announced in about an hour. So I went, whoa. So of course, we know, but that's not. And as our sister, who you said was on with you recently, as Miss Molly Bell would say, the struggle continues. You know what I mean? The struggle continues because that's just, one cop thrown in jail out of all these thousands of cops. I'm sure it's that many that have killed black men through the years and nothing ever happened to them, but there was no video. We all know if that young girl was not sitting there filming the way she did, they would have got away with it probably because the other videos wouldn't have shown what I feel like what she captured. And for us to be sitting here saying, being on pins and needles after seeing what happened, I think that right there is a disgrace because the world saw what happened. And for them to be talking about, is he guilty? It's not, is he guilty? It's like, how many years are y'all going to throw him in there and throw away the key? You know what I mean? It's that right there is just still shows the injustice. We got to sit there and hope he's proven guilty after we all saw he's proven guilty. But it's like the old Richard Pryor joke. You going to believe me or you going to believe your lying eyes? You know what I mean? It's, or was it Eddie Murphy? One of the two did it. Anyway, you know the joke.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Telling his wife, you caught me with the woman, but you going to believe me? Yeah. Okay. Coffee conversation.
Who's your influences? I think I can remember us having these types of conversations there. I remember we used to sit in your office and chop it up, me, you, Lon Q, Levi, and talk about radio. It was like we was like the radio gang inside there. Man, who are some of your influences?
In radio, Greg? In radio you're talking? Oh, it's without a doubt. The top of the heap is the great Jerry Bolding, who passed away a few years back. Jerry Bolding, to me, is the greatest radio mind, especially for black radio, urban radio. But he's the best radio mind, period, because he knew it all. Jerry was and I learned 90% of what I know in radio, I learned from him. He was a great mind, and his name is Jerry Bolding, Boulding. And I pay tribute to him all the time, and I think about him all the time. We were so close. He taught me the game, how to decipher ratings, how to deal with DJs, just everything. I learned the game from him, and I met him in my 20s, and I had the pleasure of working under him that far back, and then working with him again at KJLH. But Jerry is my biggest influence in radio, without a doubt. He's an amazing radio mind. You knew him, Greg. You got to sit in many meetings with him. The doctor. They called him the doctor of radio. He got hired at radio stations. He would come in and make them well. That was his thing. Yeah. And he would wear scrubs. He would wear doctor scrubs, remember, at the conventions. We see him walking around the lobby in doctor scrubs, man. I was like, this brother, he is too cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I see Carol Carper is on here today. She worked right alongside with Jerry Bolding, man. But yes, the doctor was, man, a great
But
radio mind.
no doubt. But I can't. I want to shortchange. I had a couple of others, Greg, that were really influences of mine, and the great Richard Pegee out of Chicago, WGCI. Learned a lot from Richard. Got to work under him. He was a consultant at a station I was programming in my 20s down south. Richard Pegee was great. J.B. Stone, I put him up
Yeah.
there. And J.B. Stone worked worked here at KJLH 2 or 3 different times, different stints. I put him on there. JB was an amazing guy, but I got to work under some great program directors and guys. And then one person I want to recognize, Cliff Winston, who hired me at KJLH and was another great radio person, just a radio rat, as we call it. Like you hear people say, oh, he's a gym rat. He practices all day. Cliff was a radio guy, man, and he was a good friend. And Cliff was the person that hired me at KJLH. So those are some of my guys I looked up to and helped me. And here's one nobody on this broadcast will know, but his radio name was BG the Black Giant. BG was about 5'4", but he called himself the Giant. That's what made it so cool. He was a radio guy in Mississippi, and he was the first one to let me come in and teaching me when I was a teenager, when I was 17, 18 years old, teaching me how to run the board and how to do things. He was my idol. I loved BG the Black Giant. And for him to teach me, you know, I was like, wow, how amazing. And I still keep in touch with him to this day. He works in Jackson, Mississippi in television. So those are some of the guys that helped shape my radio thought and mind and career.
Man, you named some great ones. I'm just like, man, you know, Jerry Bolding. Yes. I mean, just so many people. Let me ask you this, Dre, yes, you're from Mississippi, but you've been on LA radio for, you know, most of your professional career now. And one of the things that we always talk about here at Dream Creator Studio is how the story of Black radio is told from an East Coast perspective. And this is a conversation I have with Roland Bynum all the time. It's always told from the East Coast perspective. We know about the Frankie Crockers. We know about, you know, Butterball over there in Philadelphia, Butterball Tamburo. We know about all of these guys, but, you know, I feel like the West Coast gets a little cheated, you know, sometimes. So, you know, what do you think about that?
I think now me being from the South, of course, I knew about all the, you know, jocks in the South, and there were some great ones out of New Orleans and Birmingham and so forth. But Greg J, let me tell you, the radio, the West Coast radio, I think it's unbelievable. I think that's some of the best radio ever. And I know I'd get arguments from New York and some places, but LA had the original K-Day with Jack Patterson, JJ Johnson, Russ Parr, who I think is the funniest morning man in history of radio. They had Greg Mack. You remember the Mack Attack? They had a loaded staff, man. JJ Johnson was my favorite DJ of all time.
Yes.
And they had a great staff over there at K-Day. Then you cross town, you had KACE, which was a really good radio station, you know, back in the day. And then you had KJLH, which was and is, you know, it was an amazing station. And all the great DJs. You had KGFJ. So you had all these great, cute. You had all these great radio stations out here on the West Coast. So I feel like LA radio was a beast. And then, you know, some of the greatest jocks ever, I feel like, worked in this market. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned Levi and Lon McHugh and, you know, some of the guys we've even talked about. I just feel like LA radio is the best. I used to come out here to visit, right? When I was programming in my 20s in the South, in my young 20s, I remember saying, wow. You know, and I take back things I learned out here just listening and go back and do it, you know, back there in the South. But, oh, no, I put LA radio at the top of the heap, brother. I put LA radio at the top of the heap.
That's right. Hey, look, Dre, I think I might have a little bit of that gospel showcase ready for us here. Let's check this out.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do it correctly this time. He was supposed to be up there. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. You know, when we did one thing about the gospel showcase, we also did a a big praise dance component to that, you know. That's what you're seeing. This is actually the opening number. I'm gonna skip ahead there because I want you all to see a little bit of the music here. But this was like we just kicked it off.
When you get to the part where you really know in your life that God has blessed you, sometimes you ain't got to say nothing. Look at your neighbor and say, sometimes you ain't got to open your mouth. Sometimes you can look at your haters. I said, you can look at your haters and you can do this. Watch this. Yes, sir. Let everybody try. Come on. Look at somebody do it. Y'all ain't gonna find somebody right now. Look at him and say, neighbor, I got something to tell you. Really to tell you. Look at him and do it right now. Come on.
That's what's up. Gospel showcase is not very far. Right?
Man,
yeah.
I was over getting this Holy Ghost spirit, G. I'm ready to jump off coffee conversations and dance. That's a kind of Walker, man. He and I reminisced on this just last month when he came on the show. But a few days before he came on, just calling him on the phone and we just talking. And I'm like, Hezekiah, remember when you came out to do knots? He said, man, I used to love coming out there to do that. You know, I loved it. And, you know, those artists loved it as much as we did and the audience did, Greg.
Yeah. It's a big deal. We had a lot of fun. I got to tell you, Dre, man, I never, ever in my wildest imagination thought that I never could imagine it would be as big as it was, man. Yeah. I just never did it. And, you know, I love to tell the story of how it came to be. You know, I remember Gertha Bowie and I, we were really trying to break, you know, through with knots, and they had a reputation of being a little prejudiced and whatnot, you know, and we were calling them, trying to get them to come on, and they just never would come on. Right. And then we get this call from Lupita Suda. Lupita, if you're watching, I know you still keep up with me and you come through coffee conversations every now and again. And thank you for your part in this whole thing. But get a call from Lupita and she says, hey, come down. Let's see what we can do. So, we're in the meeting and I tell the people, let's do gospel because I'm seeing how your show is blowing up. And I'm like, yo, let's do gospel out here, Mm-hmm. And, the general manager of Knott's at the time, Jack Falfus, and he comes in and he says, I'm a good old boy from West Virginia, and I want to get the, Mighty Clouds of Joy. I don't need that urban sounding gospel. So we get into this kind of debate, over what gospel music is in these days and time. So I get mad and I say, well, listen, if you really want to hear gospel, man, you come down to West Angeles Church with me and I'll show you what gospel music really is. I was just being a smart mouth because I was getting frustrated in the meeting, but the guy says, okay. And he comes, brings some of his top executives down and we go down to West Angeles. And in those days, it was Kurt Carr was directing the choir, and the choir was off the chain. And then Bishop Blake has this sermon about leadership and literally breaks this man down into tears. And he's a very stern man. So when he broke down in tears during the service, his executives he brought with him are looking at him like, oh, what the heck? It was really, really powerful to him. And then he also met Stevie Wonder that Sunday and everything. And I will say this, at the end of it, he was like, man, everything you want to do at Knott's Berry Farm, you come on and do it. And that's how we were able to do our thing with Knott's. I was trying to get Judy McAllister to chip in here. She's a little busy right now, can't get in with us. But I will say that very first one, the police were on the roof. I don't know if you remember this, Dre. Remember?
I remember.
Judy McAllister was singing, right? And then she stops and begins to minister to the police on the roof, man. That was great.
Greg, they were expecting trouble. Now, just like now, you can't have a peaceful demonstration, or you can't have a peaceful church service in the park. Oh, yeah, I had all those cops around like they were expecting us to riot or something. It's like, man, I'm so sick of these folks. This racism crap. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember that.
It is what it is, but we got to keep on doing what we do. You got to keep doing what you do. It's important to communicate to the people, provide the information to the people, because, like you said, and as Molly says, the struggle continues.
Yep.
And it's important work that you're doing inside of KJLH. And, now that I'm no longer there, Dre, I see it even the more from the outside looking in. I'm saying, this is ministry times 10.
Mm-hmm. But like the Bible, hey, Greg, where two or three are gathered together. So you have to keep praying, folks. You have to keep praying about these situations, and God will bring us through. You can see walls beginning to fall down every time we look around. We keep having obstacles, but some of those walls are falling down. You just have to be persistent with your prayer.
Right, that's right. Who's your favorite local artist? Gospel.
Don't ask me that, brother. I got too many. I can't say one. I can't say one. Then some, I have a few, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. I can't. I'll tell you what. Listen to me this Sunday. I'll be playing them. You'll see.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. No, I like to.
Before we get out of here, talk about that. How important is it to play and support the local LA gospel artist community?
Oh, it's very important, man. Like we talked about earlier, LA radio. Back in the day. Well, you got to support the local artists. I mean, here's the thing. You don't just play them because they're from LA. They got to have good product and good music. But when they do, you really got to expose them and put them out there, because our artists out here sound just as good as somebody from Atlanta or from Miami or from Philadelphia, So now Chicago and Detroit are at the top of the heap. I got to tell you that. We've got, if we did a versus in gospel, it would be versus Chicago gospel artists versus Detroit versus artists, because so many. I remember back in the day, my entire playlist, say 15 years ago, was Chicago and Detroit gospel artists, because that's where so many of them are from. But I'd love to say, see the LA's really closed the gap significantly. But man, I give Chicago and Detroit props. I like to run that debate by people all the time. Like, okay, you got all these Detroit artists, Fred Hammond and the Clark sisters and so forth. Then you go to Chicago and you got Albertina Walker and Smokey Norfolk and all those folks out of Chicago. So it's really tough to say, but those two are the best cities that have produced the most gospel artists through the years, you know. So I get different people saying Detroit probably ekes out a win. That's what Dietrich Haddon told me, because he's from Detroit. So he said, man, we got Maddie Mouse Clark and the Clark sisters. And he started going down the list. And I was like, okay. And then Chicago's got a whole roster too, the Chicago Mass Choir and so many others. But it's tough, man. But I love it. And I'm proud of LA and where it stands with a lot of the younger gospel artists doing their thing now. And I got to give props to Pastor Shep Crawford and Prez Blackman, man. They did some amazing jingles for Spread the Word 25th anniversary that we played. They sound like just songs, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And then you go, oh, this is an anniversary tribute thing, jingle. And also PK Carter, the gospel rapper. PK did another gospel freestyle. And, you know, it's just amazing the talent that these people have. And they made them into jingles for the 25-year anniversary. So, shout out to them.
That's right. That's right, man. Dre Russell, thank you so much for coming on Coffee Conversations and reminiscing with the old man. I kind of like this. This is all great, you know.
My pleasure, Greg. My pleasure. I had a great time on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. This is it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, y'all can get that on demand as we sign out. It's all over social media, all over Facebook, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. It'll be streaming live also, or streaming. Well, the stream will be up on Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. And even if you just need to be around in your car, the audio version will be posted a little later on, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking iHeart, Apple, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, it's there. Dre, before we go, I know you're a big sports fan. I mean, shoot, that ain't even the word. You are the sports encyclopedia. I got two questions for you. First of all, is the Lakers gonna make it?
I don't feel like this is the Lakers' year. I think luck has a lot to do with it. They won the championship back in the fall, in the bubble, as they called it, the bubble. But one of the things they had going for them then was health. Notice they hardly had any injuries. Now, you know, that's part of sports. Sometimes teams go through those injury-riddled seasons. And even though Anthony Davis is supposed to start playing tonight again, he's 100%. They're saying LeBron James maybe in a couple of weeks, but the playoffs are here. Playoffs are here in about 3 weeks. So I don't think they'll have enough time to gel and get together and be a great team this year. I feel like this mix of players is not as solid mentally as that group they had in the fall that won the bubble. Let Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee get away, I feel like hurt them. I know what they were trying to do, trying to rebuild on the slide, bring in younger guys and this and the other, but I feel like that group was more solid. I don't think they're a championship team this year. That's my thoughts. I feel like there's too much competition in the West. I feel like the Phoenix Suns might come out of the West, and you still got Utah, who's really good. And I tell you who else might come out of the West. Laker fans, they're going to want to hear this. The Clippers. The Clippers or the Phoenix Suns are going to come out of the West is my prediction. And I don't think the Brooklyn Nets
to get one, no, Dre. I love the Lakers, but I'm gonna need the Clippers to get one. Just come on, get one, please.
And see, the Clippers did a key piece bringing in Rondo, who just won a championship with the Lakers. Rondo is such a leader on the court, man. And yeah, I feel like the Clippers, if they're healthy, they're gonna be tough to beat. But once again, health plays a part in it. They've had a lot of injuries on and off. If Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are 100%, Clippers could win the championship this year. And in the East. The Brooklyn Nets ain't all that. Even though they got all those name players, once again, those guys are hurt. They haven't played together yet. You know, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, great individual players, but I don't think as a unit, I just don't see them winning the championship. A lot of people just handed it to them once they picked up all those guys. I'm like, nah, it's a team game. So there's my prediction. Philly could be the team to come out of the East. Brooklyn could make it to the championship, but I just don't see them winning it. So there you go, Greg J. Sorry, Laker fans.
What about our Dodgers? You know, we just had the vice president of diversity. I just had diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion on for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it was that day. I think it was the day before opening day, and man, I see that they coming out swinging. So, what do you think? Dodgers gonna make it?
Dodgers are a solid team. I wish they had more brown and black brothers on the team. Mookie Betts is it as far as everyday players. They got a couple of pitchers, David Price, and a couple of Mexican pitchers. They don't have enough inclusion on that roster, if you ask me. But if I just stay on the field, they're probably the team to beat. I mean, they definitely are the team to beat. But I can't believe, Greg, you just said our Dodgers. I thought you were our San Diego Padres. So,
Well, let me just tell you about San Diego. Love my hometown, love my hometown, love my hometown. That's why I want, the Clippers to win, because what a lot of people don't realize, I used to be the San Diego Clippers, so I just want them to win just so, they've been mired in futility since their existence. The Chargers always let us down. The Padres always let us down. If I could just get one San Diego championship, I will be happy.
Well, the Padres are a really good team this year. I think they're gearing up. Maybe by next year, they'll be ready to win the World Series. I think they're a really good team this year. And if they can stay healthy, they can make some real noise. I don't know if they can beat the Dodgers, but they're going to scare the heck out of them. They had a great series last weekend. Of course, the Dodgers won 2 out of 3 down in San Diego. But that's just it. I don't think the Padres quite beat them yet. But the Dodgers, yeah, they're a solid team. Solid team. Just not enough Latin players on there for me and Black and Brown brothers. That's one thing I don't care for. I compared them to all the other teams in the majors, and they're lacking, man. They don't. I was like, ooh, they got white players at every position except Mookie Betts. And I'm like, okay. I didn't like that. Don't like that.
I did share that with my friend there after you and I talked about this subject. I sure did tell her, hey, we need some more diversity on the roster. All right, y'all. So look, we're gonna leave out with a few more scenes from the KJLH Gospel Showcase at Not Turn that down just a little bit. I'm getting fancy here.
All right, Greg.
Yeah. So listen, you all, thank you guys so much for coming through Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Aundrae Russell, he's on from noon until 6 on 102.3 Radio Free KJLH, KJLHradio.com. That's spread the word. And that is just an awesome gospel radio show. Check it out. Support my brother. Dre, how can we get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm at Aundrae Russell, man. And like you said, I'm on KJLH.
All right, that's what's up. All right, everybody, check us out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And always remember, love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Enjoy
God bless you, Greg.
All right, God bless you, Dre Russell.
That's how they put it down over at Bishop Lake's church, y'all. West Angeles. Church of God in Christ on Crenshaw. My goodness. How many of y'all ever attended West Angeles before? Even just for a visit. West Angeles. Wow.